They told me that my face was a distraction and my body was a liability, but my voice was a gold mine. My father, a man who traded in human souls in platinum records, looked at me and saw a ghost to be hidden. He looked at my sister, Mia, and saw a star to be polished. For years, I breathed through a microphone in a dark booth while she breathed in the adoration of millions, moving her lips to the rhythm of my heart. I was the secret ingredient in the Sterling family's success, a voice without a face, a human backing track. But they forgot one thing: you can't keep a sound wave strapped forever. My name is Aria, and I'm about to show the world that the most dangerous person in the music industry is the one who has already mastered the art of being invisible. The curtain is about to rise, and this time I'm the one holding the spotlight. The recording booth was my womb and my prison. It was a 4x4 square of acoustic foam and cold glass, where the air was always stale and the only light came from the glowing red rec sign. Outside the glass, my father, Marcus, sat behind the console like a king on a throne of fedors. Beside him, Mia stood, checking her reflection in her phone, practicing the pout that would soon be plastered on every billboard from New York to Tokyo. Again, Aria. My father's voice crackled through my headset, stripped of any parental warmth. The chorus needs more soul, less you, more superstar. Think about how Mia will look when she hits this note. She needs to look effortless. I closed my eyes. I didn't think about Mia. I thought about the way the music felt when it surged up from my lungs. A raw, burning thing that needed to be set free. I sang until my throat felt like it was lined with glass, hitting a high C that vibrated the very walls of the booth. Perfect, Marcus whispered, though not to me. He began to mix the track instantly, smoothing out my breath, layering my soul over a synthetic beat. Mia, go in there. Practice the lip sync. We shoot the video tomorrow. I stepped out of the booth, my legs trembling. Mia brushed past me, smelling of expensive lilies and arrogance. She didn't say thank you. She didn't even look at me. To her, I was just a biological component of her hardware. Dad, I said, my voice a raspy shadow of the one I had just used. The world is changing. People like authenticity. Let me go on stage. Just once. I don't care if I'm unmarketable. Let them hear me. Marcus didn't even turn his head. Aria, we've been over this. You have a face for radio and a body for the shadows. Mia has the look. She's the dream. You're the engine. Engines stay under the hood. Now, go to your room. There's a new set of lyrics on your desk for the B-side. I want them recorded by midnight. I walk through the corridors of our mansion, a place filled with Mia's awards and my silence. Every gold record on the wall was built on my vocal cords. Every $1 million check was signed in my blood. My father had convinced the world that Mia was a once-in-a-generation prodigy. In reality, she was a beautiful mannequin, and I was the puppeteer he kept in a basement. That night, I watched the live stream of Mia's secret showcase. She stood on a stage, bathed in violet light, wearing a dress that cost more than my education. When the music started, she opened her mouth. She was perfect. She moved with the grace of a swan, her lips perfectly synchronized with the soaring vocals I had recorded 3 days prior. The crowd roared. The comments sections exploded with, "She's an angel," and "the voice of a century." I felt a cold, sharp snap inside my chest. It wasn't jealousy. It was a sudden, violent realization. I was providing the soul for a family that didn't have one. I went to my desk, but I didn't pick up the lyrics. I picked up my laptop. For months, I had been building a digital fortress. I had been learning the back end of the industry, the algorithms, the distribution rights, the shell companies. I had a small fortune saved from the allowance Marcus gave me to keep me quiet, tucked away in accounts he didn't know existed. I looked at the mirror. My father called me unformate. I saw a woman with tired eyes and a jaw set like a trap. "If you want a ghost." "Marcus," I whispered to the empty room, I'll give you a haunting you'll never forget. I packed a single bag. I didn't take any jewelry or designer clothes. Everything they had given me was a bribe for my silence. I took my hard drives, my microphone, and the one thing they couldn't take from me, my knowledge of how the magic was made. I left through the servants' entrance at 3 a.m. I didn't leave a note. I didn't need to. When Mia tried to sing the next morning and found only silence in the booth, they would know exactly where I had gone. Or rather, they would know what I had taken. I changed my name to Vesper. It meant evening star, the one that appears when the sun goes down. I wasn't going to be a singer. Not yet. I was going to be the person who decided who got to be a singer. I was going to become the invisible hand that moved the pieces on the board, as the train pulled away from the city. I looked at the dark skyline. Mia was the face. Marcus was the name. But I was the voice, and the voice was officially off the air. 5 years is a long time to be a ghost. In the music industry, 5 years is an eternity. While my father spent the first 80 months frantically filing missing persons reports and trying to sue anonymous entities for my return, I was busy rewriting the rules of the game. I didn't want to be a star anymore. I wanted to be the sky they all lived in. I moved to a tech hub city, trading my silk dresses for hoodies and high-end servers. I adopted the name Vesper, and I never showed my face. I wore a custom-made voice-modulating mask during video conferences, a sleek obsidian visor that displayed shifting sound waves instead of features. To the world, Vesper was a brilliant, reclusive musical architect who could turn a street performer into a diamond-certified artist in 6 months. To me, Vesper was the armor I wore to protect the girl Marcus had tried to break. I built the Echo Chamber, a decentralized production house. I didn't sign artists based on their Instagram followers. I signed them based on the grain of their voice. I used my knowledge of Marcus's formula to dismantle it. I championed the unmarketable, the singers with scars, the producers with social anxiety, the voices that were too raw for the mainstream, and the world went crazy for them. Meanwhile, at the Sterling Manor, the silence was deafening. I monitored their decline through industry trade rags and leaked internal memos. Without my voice to fill her lungs, Mia was struggling. She had released 2 albums using highly processed vocals from a team of Swedish engineers, but the magic was gone. The critics called it robotic, soulless, and technically proficient, but emotionally vacant. Her fans were drifting away. The tours were downsizing from arenas to theaters. She's lost her spark, a prominent critic wrote. It's as if the soul of the sterling sound simply evaporated 5 years ago. I read those words while sitting in my state-of-the-art studio, sipping black coffee. The irony was delicious. Marcus was desperate. He had leveraged everything on Mia's comeback tour, and it was flopping. He needed a hit. He needed the Vesper touch. He had no idea that the producer he was sending frantic emails to, offering millions for a single track, was the daughter he had told to stay in the shadows. One evening, an email arrived in my encrypted inbox with a high-priority flag. Subject: collaboration. Opportunity Sterling Records. Dear Vesper, it read. We have watched your meteoric rise with great admiration. We represent Mia Sterling, the voice of a generation. She's ready for a sonic evolution, and we believe only you can capture her true essence. We are prepared to offer you 50% of all royalties and a seat on our board. Let us show the world what happens when the best face meets the best sound. I laughed so hard my mask's display glitched into a jagged red line. The voice of a generation. Marcus was still selling the lie, even as the building was on fire. The best face meets the best sound, I whispered, my voice modulated into a deep, metallic baritone by the visor. He still thinks they are 2 different things. I didn't decline. That would have been too simple. I replied with a single sentence. I only work with artists who can sing the first take live without a tuner in front of me. If Mia Sterling is as good as you say, bring her to my satellite studio in Berlin next month. No entourage, just the singer and the manager. I knew Marcus couldn't resist. He was a gambler, and he thought he could trick me just like he tricked the public. He probably thought his engineers could hide a wireless receiver in Mia's ear. Or that I was just another producer looking to be seduced by the sterling glamour. I looked at the gold record on my desk, not a sterling record, but my first independent platinum. It was for an artist named Luna, a girl with a heavy lisp and a voice like a thunderstorm. I had produced it from the shadows. The engine is out of the hood now, Marcus, I said, turning off the studio lights, and it's about to run you over. The stage was set for a reunion they never saw coming. I had spent 5 years perfecting my sound, and now I was ready to hear theirs. The sound of a desperate man realization that he had traded his greatest treasure for a cardboard cutout. The Berlin studio was a brutalist masterpiece of concrete and silence. I had designed it specifically for this moment. No warmth, no distractions, just the unforgiving physics of sound. I sat behind the console, my obsidian mask reflecting the flickering lights of the equipment. To Marcus and Mia, I was just a silhouette in a visor. A digital god they had come to worship for a drop of relevance. When they walked in, the air seemed too thin. Marcus looked older, his eyes darting around the room, calculating the cost of the gear. Mia was draped in faux fur, her face a mask of bored perfection, though I could see the slight tremor in her hands. Vesper, Marcus said, extending a hand that I didn't take. He didn't seem offended. He expected genius to be cold. An honor. Truly. We've brought this stems for Mia's new project. We're thinking of a soul revival vibe, something that shows off her range. Stems are useless here. My modulated, metallic voice boomed through the studio monitors. I don't polish statues, Marcus. I build from the bone. Mia, get in the booth. Mia hesitated. She looked at the small, padded room, the very same kind of cage I had lived in for 19 years. Now, she whispered, I haven't warmed up. My tea. The booth doesn't care about your tea, I interrupted. Go. Marcus gave her a frantic, encouraging nod. He thought this was just a test of her diva stamina. He didn't realize it was a trial by fire. Mia stepped inside. The heavy door clicked shut, sealing her in a vacuum of silence. I watched her through the triple pane glass. For the first time, our roles were reversed. I was the one with the faders. I was the one with the power to listen or to mute. Sing the chorus of Ghost Melody, I commanded. It was the song that had made her famous. My song. The one I had sang until my lungs burned while she practiced her smile. The backing track started, a stripped-down, raw piano version. Mia opened her mouth. The sound that came out was thin, pitchy, and desperately hollow. Without the layers of doubling, without the pitch correction, and without my voice hidden in the frequencies to give it body. She sounded like a child lost in a storm. Marcus winced. He leaned toward the talkback mic, his voice hushed. She's jet-lagged, Vesper. Give her a minute. We can fix it in the mix, right? And that's what you do. You're the magician. I'm a producer, Marcus, not a necromancer, I replied. I can't bring life to something that was never there. Mia, again, from the bridge, and this time try to find a soul. I watched her struggle for 40 minutes. It was a slow-motion car crash of vanity. She tried every trick, the breathy whispers, the exaggerated vibrato, but there was no foundation. She was a house built on my stolen sand, and the tide was finally coming in. I can't do it. Mia finally screamed, her voice cracking through the high-end monitors. She burst out of the booth, tears streaking her foundation. The acoustics are wrong. This room is cursed. The room is honest, Mia, I said, spinning my chair slowly to face them. I kept the mask on, the blue light of the sound waves dancing across my visor. You've spent 5 years pretending to be a titan. But standing here in the cold light of a real studio, you're just a girl who has forgotten how to even breathe. How dare you? Marcus stepped forward, his face turning a deep, angry purple. Do you know how many records we've sold? Do you know who I am? I know exactly who you are, Marcus Sterling, I said, and for a split second, I let a hint of my natural inflection slip through the modulator. You're a man who thinks talent is something you can manufacture in a lab. You're a man who lost his most valuable asset because he was too blind to see it. What is that supposed to mean? He hissed. It means the session is over, I said, standing up. Your superstar is a silence waiting to happen. You have no hit, you have no comeback. And unless you find the ghost who used to haunt your booth, you have no future. I watched them leave, defeated and small. Marcus was already on his phone, likely calling another producer, another engineer, looking for another lie to buy. But I knew the industry. I had spent 5 years making sure that every door they knocked on led back to me. I waited until the sound of their car faded into the Berlin night. Then I walked into the booth. I picked up the microphone. I didn't need a backing track. I didn't need a mask. I sang a single pure note that filled the concrete room, vibrating in my chest with a frequency that was mine and mine alone. The ghost is gone, Marcus, I whispered to the empty studio, and she took the music with her. The music industry moves on blood and momentum, and Marcus Sterling was bleeding out. After the disaster in Berlin, word spread through the grapevine like a virus. Mia Sterling has lost it, they whispered in the VIP lounges. The Sterling magic was a fluke. Within months, their sponsors pulled out, their luxury car leases were terminated, and the Grand Mansion, the one with the gold records on the walls, was put up as collateral for a loan that Marcus could never repay, but Marcus didn't realize that the bank didn't own his debt anymore. A private equity firm called Ethelred Holdings had quietly bought every cent of his liability. And I was the sole owner of Ethelred. I sat in my office on the top floor of a glass tower, the city lights of London sprawling beneath me like a circuit board. My desk was clean, except for a single folder, the foreclosure notice for Sterling Records. Vesper, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Mr. Sterling is downstairs. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's a matter of professional survival. Send him up, I said, adjusting the obsidian mask. And Sarah, bring 2 glasses of water. One will be for his throat. He's going to be doing a lot of begging. When Marcus walked into my office, he looked like a man who had been hollowed out. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes were bloodshot, and the arrogance that used to be his armor had rusted through. He didn't see a daughter. He saw a shadowy titan who held the keys to his life. Vesper, he began, his voice cracking. Thank you for seeing me. I'll get straight to the point. My label is in trouble. A group is trying to seize my assets. I need an infusion. 10 million just to cover the quarterly interest. I'll give you 70% of the company. I'll give you Mia's entire back catalog. The back catalog is worthless, Marcus, my modulated voice echoed, cold and mechanical. The world knows those songs were heavily processed. The voice of a generation turned out to be a software glitch. Why would I buy a graveyard? Because of the name, he shouted, then quickly lowered his voice. The Sterling brand still has weight. We just need one hit. One song produced by you. If you put your name on a track for Mia, the creditors will back off. They're afraid of you. I don't partner with losers, Marcus. I acquire them. I slid the foreclosure document across the desk. I don't want 70%. I already own 100% of your debt. I am the group that is seizing your assets. As of 9 a.m. this morning, Sterling Records belongs to me. The mansion, the catalog, and the contracts, everything. Marcus staggered back, hitting the glass wall. You? But why? We've never even met before, Berlin. Why would you target us? We're just a family business. A family business built on a lie is just a long-term fraud, I replied. You treated your most valuable asset like a ghost, Marcus. You thought you could hide the source of the music and just keep the profit. but ghosts have a way of coming back to claim what's theirs. I don't understand, he whispered, looking at the mask as if he could see my eyes through the visor. Who are you? I am the person who heard everything you tried to silence, I said. I am the owner of your future now. If you want to keep your house, if you want Mia to avoid a total public breakdown, you will do exactly what I say. I am organizing a final farewell concert for Mia. Live. No backing checks. No pitch correction. Just a girl and a microphone. She can't. Marcus cried. She'll be destroyed. She has no voice left. Then she'll have to find one, I said, standing up. Or you can sign the papers now, hand over the keys to the manor, and disappear into the poverty you were so afraid of for your unmarketable daughter. The choice is yours, Marcus. But remember, the microphone is always on. He looked at the pen. He looked at the document. He was a man who had spent his life selling people's dreams, and now he was selling his own skin just to stay afloat. He signed Dot as he walked out, broken and trembling. I took off the mask for a moment. The air in the office felt sweet. I looked at the signature on the paper, Marcus Sterling. He had just signed away the empire he had built on my back. The Royal Albert Hall was empty, a vast cavern of red velvet and golden light, waiting for the final farewell concert that I had engineered. This wasn't just a show. It was a public execution of a lie. I sat in the center of the dark stalls, my mask glowing in the gloom, watching Mia stand on the stage. She looked small, like a doll left behind in a grand ballroom. Again, my voice boomed through the house speakers from the second verse of Unspoken. And this time, try to reach the note, Mia. Don't just hope for it. Mia burst into tears. She dropped the microphone, and the feedback shrieked through the hall like a wounded animal. I can't. Vesper, please. I've tried for weeks. My voice. It's just not there. It was never there. You know that, don't you? You're the one who knows everything. Marcus rushed onto the stage, clutching a bottle of water as if it were a holy relic. She's exhausted. Vesper, we had a deal. You're supposed to produce this. Use the technology. Use the pre-recorded tracks. We have the old files, the ones from the girl who used to sing for us. Just overlay them. No one will know the difference. The girl who used to sing for you is dead, Marcus, I said, my voice cold and echoing. And her files are encrypted. You don't have access to her soul anymore. I'll pay anything. Marcus shouted into the darkness of the theater. I know you have contacts. Find her. Find Arya. I don't care where she is or what she wants. If she sings one more time, just for this one night, I can save everything. I'll give her half the company. I'll apologize. Just bring her back. I stood up slowly. The sound of my boots on the wooden floor was the only noise in the hall. I walked down the aisle toward the stage until I was standing right in the spotlight spill. You'd apologize? I asked. For 19 years of darkness? For telling her she was a liability? For using her breath to buy your cars and your fame? Is that worth half a company to you now, Marcus? Marcus froze. He squinted into the darkness, trying to see behind the obsidian visor. How do you know those details? That was private family business. Nothing is private in the echo chamber, I replied. Mia, go home. Rest. You won't be singing tomorrow. The world is tired of hearing you try. Then who? Mia sobbed, clutching her throat. The tickets are sold out. The global stream is live in 24 hours. If no one sings, we're finished. We'll be the biggest laughingstock in history. The music will happen, I said, turning away. The ghost is tired of being behind the curtain. Tomorrow night, the mask comes off. I left them there, shivering on a stage they no longer deserved. I went back to my private dressing room, the one reserved for the producer. On the vanity sat a single piece of jewelry, a small silver locket Marcus had given me when I was 6, before he realized I was a gold mine. Inside was a picture of me smiling, before I learned that my smile didn't matter as much as my diaphragm. I spent the night in the hall, alone. I didn't practice. I didn't need to. I had been practicing in the dark for my entire life. I sat on the edge of the stage and sang a single low note, letting it swell until it filled every corner of the architecture. It was the sound of a woman who had finally found her own frequency dot in 24 hours. The world would see the face of Vesper. And Marcus Sterling would finally realize that the daughter he had treated like a ghost was the only thing that had ever made his world real. "One last performance, Marcus," I whispered into the silence. "But this time, I'm not singing for you. I'm singing for the girl you left in the booth." The Royal Albert Hall was a sea of shimmering lights and bated breath. Thousands sat in the velvet seats, and millions more watched through the global live stream. This was the most anticipated musical event of the decade, the final performance of Mia Sterling, produced by the enigmatic Vesper. Backstage, the air was thick with the scent of ozone and panic. Mia was hyperventilating in her dressing room, her sequins mocking her trembling frame. Marcus was pacing the corridor, sweating through his tuxedo, looking like a man awaiting his execution. "5 minutes, Vesper," Marcus shouted as he saw my masked figure emerge from the darkness. "Mia can't do it. She's catatonic. Please tell me the backing track is ready. Tell me you found a way to save us." "Go to your seat in the front row, Marcus," my modulated voice replied, steady and cold. "The show is starting, and for once in your life, just listen." The lights dimmed. A single spotlight hit the center of the stage. Mia stumbled out, looking beautiful and broken. She stood before the microphone, her lips trembling. The music began, the haunting orchestral intro to Unspoken. She opened her mouth, but only a dry, choked sob came out. The audience began to murmur. The silence was agonizing. Then a second spotlight ignited at the very back of the stage. I walked out slowly, wearing a gown of midnight blue that seemed to swallow the light. I was still wearing the obsidian mask, the digital sound waves pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. I stood 10 feet behind my sister. I didn't wait for her. I began to sing. The first note was a low, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate the floorboards. Then I let it rise. It wasn't the polished, over-processed sound the world was used to. It was raw, powerful, and filled with 19 years of suppressed rage and beauty. The audience went silent. Mia turned around, her eyes wide with terror and recognition. As the first chorus hit, I reached up and unlatched the mask. The obsidian visor fell to the stage with a heavy thud. I stepped forward, my face exposed to the cameras, to the world, and most importantly, to the man in the front row. "Aria?" Marcus whispered, his voice lost in the roar of the crowd. I didn't stop. I sang through the bridge, my voice soaring to heights that Mia could never even dream of. I wasn't the unmarketable daughter anymore. I was the storm. I was the ghost who had finally taken flesh. The applause wasn't just loud. It was a physical force. People were standing. Some were crying, realizing in an instant that this sterling sound had always been a person, not a product. When the final note faded into a shimmering silence, I didn't bow. I looked directly at the camera, then down at my father. The concert ended in a blackout. 10 minutes later, I was in the wings, preparing to leave. Marcus burst through the security line, his face a grotesque mask of shock, greed, and newfound affection. "Aria! My God, Aria!" he cried, trying to grab my shoulders. "You were incredible. The world is going crazy. The contracts, the offers are already pouring in. We can rebuild everything. Sterling Records will be bigger than ever. We'll put you on every cover, every stadium." I was wrong. I see that now. "You're the star. You're my star." I stepped back, his touch feeling like ash on my skin. Beside him, Mia stood, looking at me with a mixture of hatred and hollow defeat. "It's not we anymore, Marcus," I said, my natural voice clear and cold. "I didn't sing tonight to save your label. I sang to bury it." "Don't be foolish," he hissed, the greed returning to his eyes. "You're under contract. I'm your father. I own your debt, Marcus. I own your house. I own your name, I reminded him. And as the owner of Sterling Records, I am officially dissolving the company tonight. There are no more contracts. There is no more Mia Sterling. You can't do this to your own family, Mia screamed. What are we supposed to do? You can do. What I did, I said, walking toward the exit where my car was waiting. You can learn what it's like to be silent. Marcus ran after me, his voice desperate. Aria, wait, just one more album. Name your price, anything. I'll give you everything. I stopped at the door and looked back at him. The man who had sold my soul for platinum. My price was always my freedom, Marcus. And I've already paid it, I said. And as for my voice, look at the charts tomorrow. Look at the awards, but don't look for me. Arya, please. My voice is no longer for sale, I said, and it certainly isn't for you. I stepped into the car and closed the door. As we pulled away from the hall, I looked at the digital billboards. Mia's face was already being replaced by a simple, elegant logo. Vesper. The ghost was gone. The machine was broken. And for the first time in my life, the only person I was singing for was myself. Contract terminated. Identity reclaimed. The silence is final.